Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to talk about the new Batmobile for Matt Reeves' Batman. Now, I thought it was fitting to do a video on this because I also did a My Thoughts video on Robert Pattinson in his new Batsuit, the short little clip we got of that. And the new Batmobile is not what I expected. Now, here's the thing. For the past kind of two series of movies, the Batman v Superman universe, and the one before that, the Christian Bale universe, the Batmobile was a fucking tank. So it wasn't really so much of a Batmobile. It wasn't a car. Literally, it was basically a tank. It just plowed through everything that moved. Whereas, the last time we saw the Batmobile as an actual car was probably back in the 90s with some of those, Michael Keaton films, where it actually acted and worked like a car. But in this one, we've gone back to a very, very contemporary design to the point where this looks like a car that was modified as opposed to a custom-built vehicle. And it looks like it looks like a muscle car basically. It looks like an old Barracuda or something like that, or an older Mustang model that still had kind of the muscly car look to it. It has that kind of look, and there obviously you kind of get some things with that. You can tell that it looks like it's been armored in some ways. It doesn't look entirely smooth. It looks like there's kind of plating on it. So obviously that kind of makes sense. This is a Batmobile. I'd expect it probably has bulletproof glass too. And you do see Robert Pattinson, or at least a stunt double or something, standing next to it in the Batsuit. You don't really get a close-up of anything in this. You just kind of see some stuff. So it's really not entirely, it's probably not him. It's probably a stunt double in the suit. But we do get to see the entire suit with the cape attached, which is nice. That's another thing that we've kind of noticed now. But the other thing you have to look at with the car is that it has something on the hood. Now, as far as gadgets go in this, that's going to be something that's kind of interesting too, because this doesn't look like, again, it's not like a tank. It doesn't actually have a massive gun in it, or at least it doesn't look like it does. Or a cannon or something like that. The Batmobile had a lot of those littler things that it could do, in addition to being really, really fast and armor plated and shit. But if you look at the hood, it looks like there's some kind of a thing with the hood. Now, whether that's for the engine, it looks like kind of an air intake for the engine, or it could be some kind of gadget that maybe pops out of the hood. Because the other thing that we get to see in one of these pictures is it looks like they show you a little bit of a shot from the back, kind of a side shot. We get to see like the tail, the tail end of the Batmobile a lot, which honestly the back end of it kind of reminds me a lot of the 90s Batmobile. They've just reduced, the animated series Batmobile, but they've just reduced the front end of the car down to what it would look like if it was a normal car. But the front end definitely looks like a muscle car. But the back end looks a lot like that 90s type Batmobile. Looks like there is a rocket engine in it. Again, that could very well be a rocket engine because, again, the Batmobile has been portrayed with that before. But it could also be a gadget. It could be something else. Could spray something out the back of the car or something like that, or maybe it's a weapon or something that he can use against people, like an EMP or something. It could be a lot of different things, but it looks a lot like a rocket, and it wouldn't be out of place for the back of the Batmobile. You also get kind of a picture of the profile. It is fairly high off the ground. It has kind of those all-terrain type of off-wheel tires on it, which again makes sense given the fact that it's kind of a rugged vehicle. It has to do all these things. And it looks like it's in some kind of like a factory district. We see what looks like some archways and some kind of a facility behind it. I don't know if maybe that's going to be the housing for the new Batcave. Maybe that's below that building, kind of like a Christian Bale thing. Back when they had Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, where the Batcave was. Or actually, no, I think it was just Dark Knight that had the Batcave and just like a random like building or under a shipyard or something. And then the last photograph we go to gives us a really good shot at what looks like a jet engine in the back of that car. And the only thing that kind of is interesting to me is that when you look at it, normally that part of the car I would assume would be covered up. It's a hatchback; it's not a convertible or something. So you would assume that that would be covered up and armored again, like the Michael Keaton Batmobile, where all you really see is the spout from or the end, the nozzle from the rocket coming out of the back of the car. You don't. It's almost like an exhaust pipe. You don't see all the inner workings of that mechanism. So this is kind of interesting to see that where it's very open, doesn't appear that there's anything around. Because again, that kind of it's a bit of a weakness when you look at it like that. Maybe they'll give an explanation for it in the movie, but um, looking at that again, it looks like it has a very light back end of it. It looks like it's built more for speed. You can't really tell. Again, you can't really tell if there's too many gadgets on it. It does show that it has kind of like a reddish glow coming out of it. There's a reddish lights and stuff all around the engine and the back. It looks like the engine's giving off some kind of a reddish glow as well. So there's a lot going on with that, but aside from that, there's really not too much to talk about the car, other than the fact, again, it really does actually look like a car. This is probably the closest we've come to getting back to the Adam West Batmobile, now that I think about it. Because this actually looks like a car as opposed to a heavily modified vehicle. I mean, again, it is heavily modified. It's the Batmobile. But this looks like something that you could like order from a custom shop, basically, and maybe you can get some lights in the back and make it look like a jet engine. Um, again, the front end for all it is, it definitely looks like a muscle car. But this again, I have a picture of this up as the main pic for the video. I also have a picture of it up for the thumbnail. But there is a third picture as well. Like I said, there's three pictures. There's an above shot, a kind of profile shot from the side, and then a rear shot. So if you want to see those, then Matt Reeves' Twitter is where you can find those. If you want to look at all of them yourself, because again, I kind of like it. I think they're pretty cool. It's I like the design. I like the fact it's a bit more practical. It's not like a tank that just kind of runs in and wrecks everything. Because like Batman's just pancaking cop cars left and right. Um, I'm kind of happy we're back to something that looks like it can be somewhat vulnerable. Because again, even in the comic books, the Batmobile started off as just a car that he drove, and they put like a battering ram thing on the front of it. So that way you could hit stuff and not get destroyed. So there's a lot going on with this from the perspective of going back to originals, and supposedly the film itself is supposed to take place during Batman's second year of kind of his stories. It's not a year one story; it's a year two story for whatever reason. I guess they just didn't want to retread on that because kind of Batman Begins kind of did that as well. So I can see this definitely being Batman's early days, before he kind of developed the technology. Again, we really didn't see the tanky Batmobile on the big screen until the Christian Bale films came out. But even then, it was kind of one of those things like it had to develop over time. But it is nice to see. I like the design. Again, I like the design of the suit, and I also like the design of the car. And also, I think the cape on his suit does look very good because again, you get to see in the profile picture, you do get to see a little bit of that, or the side view picture. So, as usual, put your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know what you think about this. Do you like the new design for the Batmobile? Are you happy they're kind of going back to the look of an actual automobile, or do you like the tank design? Again, put your thoughts in the comments below. I like to know what you're thinking. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?